So it's been a while since I made my last video, but I felt it was appropriate to make this next video. It's now been over a year since I have not been taking the Plaquenil or the hydroxychloroquine that I was prescribed for my rheumatoid arthritis. And I stopped taking that at the beginning of May of last year. And I watched Dr. Brooke Goldner's healing protocol that she teaches about every 8 weeks, the end of May. So I began her program, the healing protocol, the end of May of last year, of 2019. And so I just wanted to go through what that experience was like for anybody who's wanting to do her protocol, or maybe they're doing it and are getting frustrated or discouraged, that maybe sharing my story will be able to help them or to give them some motivation. But before I get into this, I just want to reiterate how important diet and nutrition is. And not only does a whole food plant-based diet help in reversing autoimmune diseases, but it can literally reverse heart disease, type 2 diabetes, weight loss, high blood pressure. All of these things that are so common in America and around the world, that are often prescribed with medications, and doctors don't really do a whole lot as far as helping change diet and lifestyle. But it really comes down to the food that we eat. And I just want people to know that, because it seems hard and it seems like, oh, I can never give up certain foods. But health is wealth. And you just cannot put any type of food or any type of old lifestyle that holds nothing to the way you feel when you're healthy and what it feels like when you have your health given back to you. Because there were many times that I went to the doctor. I saw 2 rheumatologists during all of this with my rheumatoid arthritis and getting diagnosed. And neither one of them had any recommendations based on diet to help me. When I was asking them, is there any success that you've heard of with people, changing diet? And I mean, really, they had no clue. And it's not a need to, discredit to them. It's just that doctors in general do not receive a whole lot of training, if any, on diet and nutrition and how it affects the body. And once you understand how important it is that we are eating nutritious food, it's life-changing. And I just want anybody who's suffering from any disease to just know to start researching whole food plant-based. Look up all the doctors who advocate this and do your own research and find out for yourself and take back your own health. So I listened to Dr. Brooke Goldner's healing protocol. She teaches it in 3 classes. So her first class goes over the foods that are making you sick, which is basically, I'll just run them out for you. Processed foods. Anything that comes in a box or it's prepared, it has ingredients that you don't know what they are or you can't even pronounce, that's processed foods. Animal products. That includes meat, dairy, cheeses, eggs. All of those are inflammatory foods. And the third one is oils, which I put that under a processed food because you're not eating the whole food. It's very processed, right? But oils are very inflammatory. And there's lots of studies and research on that if you look up just with heart disease and things with Dr. Esselstyn, if you want to learn more about that in regards to heart disease. But anyway, so her first class goes over why those foods are making you sick. And it's fascinating because she doesn't just list them out and say, stop eating them. She goes through the science, why those foods make you sick, why they're inflammatory to your bodies, why your body reacts the way they do, when you're eating these foods. And it's just awesome. I love it. And the second class, she goes through the foods that will make you better. And so her healing protocol, the foods that will make you better, are lots of greens, okay? Specifically cruciferous vegetables. That's kale, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts. All these vegetables, cruciferous vegetables, are the most healing foods. So you're increasing lots of greens into your diet, lots of omega-3s from plant sources, okay? It's chia seeds and flax seeds that she goes through. You're increasing your water intake. The minimum is 96 ounces a day, but you should be shooting for 127 ounces of water a day. And that's a lot of water. So believe me, I do it. I did it when I started, and yes, you have to pee a lot and you will wake up in the night. But your body eventually gets used to it, and you can recognize when you are dehydrated and when your body needs water. I think most of us just day to day are dehydrated, but we're used to it. We don't recognize that we are, but we don't get enough of the water that we need. Her other recommendation is if you weigh under 120 pounds, then your water intake should be 1 ounce per pound, if that makes sense. So that second class, she goes through all of those foods that you need to be eating. And her recommendation, in order to get all of the suggested greens in your diet, the best way to get that in her recommendation is smoothies. Because it takes a lot of chewing power to eat that many greens, and it's a lot easier, and you can really get it into your body quicker if you're drinking it through smoothies. So that's her recommendation. And then in her third class, she goes through case studies of people that she's worked with, people who have healed. And also she stays on after the classes, each class, and offers a Q&A to anybody who's online, which is awesome. And she'll stay on for hours just to answer everybody's questions. And again, in that second day class, when she's going through the food that will heal you, she doesn't just list it off and tell you, now do it. She goes through the science and discusses the why it works, and it is fascinating. So if you have the opportunity to do her classes, do it. They're free, and there's nothing that can hurt you from listening to the free classes. You take away from it what you want to do. Anyway, so after listening to her classes, I was still experiencing pain, right, from doing the Pattison program. And I knew that what I was missing was I was not getting enough greens, I was not getting enough water, and I was not getting enough omega-3s. So everything in her protocol, I knew I was missing. And so I was ready to jump on board 100%. And it was so freeing when I started her protocol, because before, every single day, what I ate, if I had pain or something the next day, I was just so mind boggled and was questioning everything, like, was it this, was it that was causing the pain? You know, was I sensitive to this? What was it? But finally, with doing her smoothies every day and just eating raw, all the vegetables, I had no question of what I was going to eat every day. And it just was so freeing, because I didn't have to worry about, was this going to cause pain? Was this something I was sensitive to? Because I did the elimination diet. I introduced all of the foods, so I knew what I was sensitive to. I knew what I wasn't. And I knew that everything that I was eating on her protocol was not a sensitivity. So I knew whatever came my way with doing her protocol, it was not a sensitivity. It was my body healing. And so I'll get into that because I don't think I ever would have expected what I was going to experience with doing her protocol. But she mentions through doing the protocol, you're going to go through a detox phase. And she describes it as it's going to get worse before it gets better. And every single cell of your body, okay, everything in your body is literally made by the food that you feed it. Okay, that's where it gets its fuel. That's where it gets its building blocks to build your body. So when you're going through the healing protocol and you're now giving your body so much nutrition, okay, she calls it hyper nourishing. You're giving yourself more than what your body could ever need to heal and repair. It's like your body is like, whoa, I can just dump all of this stuff now and rebuild it with better things. And so your body goes through a very intense detox, and it's different for everybody. I've heard that people, it only took 2 weeks, and others, it was longer. I was one of those that it was longer. And I literally felt like my body was repairing itself at a cellular level. Like I felt my body purging muscle in order to rebuild muscle. And so I lost weight, as you can imagine, with doing the healing protocol. But she often just reiterates that your healthy weight is when you're healthy and when you feel better. So don't worry about the scale. Go off of how you feel and just keep doing the protocol. So I started the protocol the very end of May, and I was doing the smoothies. I was drinking an entire Vitamix of smoothie every day. And for the first few days, that's all I could stomach. It was so much to get through the whole Vitamix. But eventually my body got used to that. And in addition to all of the water, like my stomach just felt so full. But after my body got used to that, after probably, 5 days or a week, I started to get hungry on top of the smoothie. So on top of drinking the smoothies, I would then eat lots of raw cauliflower and raw broccoli with guacamole. So she says if you're getting your 12 cups of raw greens or cruciferous vegetables a day, then you can have unlimited avocados. So I made lots of guacamole and ate plates of broccoli and cauliflower. And it really is satisfying to eat those vegetables with the guacamole. So if you don't like guacamole, I'm really sorry. You can try it with salsa, but guacamole, I love avocados. So it was really easy for me to do and very satisfying. So I just continued with that. And it wasn't probably, I have my notes here so that I can refer to it. Let's see. It was just a few days after starting the healing protocol, I got a huge pain in my shoulder. And it felt like I had gotten like 5 tetanus shots in the shoulder. I couldn't move it. It was just so stiff. It kind of eased up after a couple of days, and then it came back, and then it was also the other shoulder. So then I had it in both of my shoulders, this huge, just intense pain and stiffness. Like I had 10 tetanus shots in my shoulders. I now know that people call what I experienced frozen shoulder. It did not come on from an injury. It did not come from something that I did at the gym. It was detox. And I literally was like T-Rex. If you could imagine, I couldn't move my shoulders. I was getting dressed by pulling my shirt on up and over and not moving my arms. I couldn't lift them up. And that lasted for a few weeks. And I just kept trusting the process. I just knew my body was ridding itself from whatever it was that it needed to heal and repair. And I tried to just stay positive. I did a lot of meditations. I did a lot of positive affirmations. And the other thing that really helped during detox was taking hot baths with some Epsom salts to help relieve the pain. And I would sit in the sauna at the gym, which really helped. And there were several days during detox that I would wake up and my body was just so stiff and sore. Like I couldn't, really even lift my legs at all, but I would just push myself to go to the gym. And it was just so hard to do those classes that I love, and I would go all out normally, but I just physically couldn't. And one day, I actually went to the gym and I was doing a yoga class, and I'm going to say her name, Carrie. You know who you are. We had an awesome yoga class, and at the end of the class, she was going through, our savasana where we were relaxing at the end, and she said, "Thank your body for what it does." And I just remembered laying there. I had a huge emotional release, and you can see that it still affects me now as I remember it. But I was at that moment where I had started this healing protocol, and I just felt so overwhelmed. As I was talking to myself, I was giving my body everything that I could. And I just now needed my body to work for me and to cooperate with me and to give me those changes that I was seeking. And I cannot tell you, it was just so healing. So I really recommend meditation, and yoga is huge because we don't realize how much pain and stress that we harbor and hold inside of our bodies that contributes to our diseases and our illness that we suffer from. It was just a few days after that class that I woke up with a huge, I don't even know how to describe it, huge overall body flare in my body. My daughter helped me get dressed. Okay, I barely could get out of bed. My hips were sore, my legs were sore, my shoulders again, I could not move them. My hands, my wrists, everything was just hurting. And my son, thankful that I had these older kids that could help me, he made my smoothie for me for that day because I literally could not do it. And thankfully, my daughter was old enough to drive because she was able to drive us around to the practices and where the other kids needed to be taken. But it was so bad. My kids had to open the door for me and help me get in the car and do my seatbelt. Okay, just the motion of grabbing the seatbelt and pulling it over, I couldn't do it. And getting my legs out of the car, my kids were helping me. That's how bad the flare that I was in. And it was scary, I'm not gonna lie. And again, all of these doubts and things start coming through your mind, like I'm doing it wrong, I'm gonna be the one exception who doesn't heal, it's not gonna work for me. But you have to push back those negative thoughts. You have to just stay positive. Know that everything that you're doing is healing your body. That's what I kept telling myself. The only thing that I'm doing is healing. Everything that I'm eating is healing. And so I continued to trust in the process. Thankfully, that day, my husband travels for work, that he was out of town because he would have put his foot down and said, "You are going to stop this. This is crazy." I know he would have done that if he saw how much pain I was in. And thankfully, I had those few days where my kids, were willing to help me and to help me get through this. And I cried many tears, that I was afraid that I was scarring my children for them seeing me this way, as I was changing the way that I was eating. But I had to trust the process. I didn't come all this way to turn back and to give up. I had to continue with the protocol. And she says you keep doing the protocol until you feel well. Now, let me tell you, with that huge flare, up until that point, it was kind of like I would have 3 horrible days, and then I would have one awesome day where I would wake up and it was like my pain was less, I felt so good, and then I would have 6 horrible days, and then I would have 2 really good days, and then I would have like what that huge flare was that lasted for several days, huge flare. And it gradually got better. The pain didn't go away, but then I would have one day that felt so good that I just knew it was just like a step, 2 steps forward, 1 step back type of thing, that eventually I knew I was going to have more good days outweighing the bad. And at one point, after I got through that huge flare, my in-laws had just gotten home from a mission that they had served for our church in Africa. So we flew out to go and see them for their homecoming, and I was really, really nervous. I know I looked underweight because I was still in a lot of pain. At that point, it was in my knees. I could barely go upstairs, okay? I was having to hold on the railing and just take them, 2 feet at a time, very slowly. And I was really nervous because I knew that they were gonna, judge me or just think that what I was doing was crazy. And I know from the outside that it looked like that. I'm not gonna, sugarcoat it. It looked like I was crazy, I'm sure. And I probably would have thought that of somebody else. Had I not known the research and had I not been given the answer to do this through prayer. But I was really worried about going out there and just maintaining the healing protocol while I was out there. But I was determined to do it. And before we left, my husband was actually really worried about me just because I had lost more weight. He just wanted me to eat. He didn't feel like I was getting enough food. And so to help him feel a little better, I went to the doctor before we went on our trip. And I just had him do all my blood work. I had him check all my levels, protein, all my vitamins, and, just make sure all my inflammation markers, everything. I just had him test everything. And I thought was really encouraging. He didn't make me feel like I was crazy, and he really advocates, eating healthy. So he had never heard of anything that I had done, and he's not a whole food plant-based doctor or anything, but he was really supportive. And he told me, even though I was underweight and, wished that I had a few more pounds on me, but he basically said, I'm not that worried about you as far as like being malnourished or anything, because he's like, you're not lethargic, you're not feeling dizzy or lightheaded, you're not feeling sick. Like, I had all the energy in the world. In my mind, I felt so good. I had so much energy. I just physically, my body couldn't do it because I was in so much pain from this detox. And anyway, all of my labs came back normal. Everything was fine. All my protein, all my vitamins, I wasn't deficient in anything. And the only thing that came back a little high was my inflammation was a little high, but it actually wasn't as high as it was before when I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. But I knew it was going to be high because I was in pain. So obviously it was going to be high. But I knew it was coming down. And so we went on our trip. I continued to do the healing protocol. At that point, I had started introducing a few cooked foods. Even though I was still having some pain, only because I wanted my husband to feel good about what I was doing, but I also wanted just to have something a little more on my stomach. So the only cooked foods that I was eating at that point were sweet potatoes and quinoa. So I would eat lots and lots of raw vegetables with the quinoa, make huge salads, add a little quinoa in there, Same thing with the sweet potatoes. I would put broccoli and everything on top of them, in addition to still doing my smoothies and eating all the raw vegetables that were suggested on the protocol. So after that trip, I was about 8 weeks at that point, and I know that my whole detox phase was probably made worse because I had stopped my Plaquenil the month before. So the detox may not have been as severe. And I just felt, again, the Spirit guided me to stop the medication. But I know that Dr. Goldner doesn't suggest anybody just stopping their medication, especially if you're on steroids like prednisone and other drugs like methotrexate, that you should taper them off with the care of your doctor. But anyway, so don't just follow my example. Do, what you have to do, because you're your own advocate, and follow the advice of your doctor. But I had stopped my Plaquenil in May. So I know that my detox was made worse, probably because of that. But other detox symptoms that I had, in addition to the frozen shoulder and like the pain in all of my joints, like just migrating through my body, I would have severe throat pain. And it was almost like my thyroid was waking up, because I also have Hashimoto's. But I'd also had like really swollen lymph nodes in my neck. And there were days too that I would feel like really lightheaded or dizzy. And that was usually just in the beginning. And I think that was just coming off of, eating the other foods and all raw. So everything is just really nourishing. But I'm trying to think if there were any other symptoms other than that. But yeah, there was one day I was in Target with my daughter, and all of a sudden, just like bam, it just, like a light switch, my throat was just in so much pain that it kind of scared me. And I sat there like, am I able to swallow? Am I able to breathe? Like, is my throat swelling shut? But it was just, again, like this throat pain that I had. And again, like just the frozen shoulder that lasted probably the longest. Oftentimes my husband was like, when are you going to be able to like not be like this? Because I was like that for a very long time, it seemed. But eventually, by the time 8 weeks came around, I literally was pretty much pain-free. And those good days definitely started outweighing the bad. And the only thing at that point that I was really dealing with was I still had some jaw pain, and that was a common thing that I had off and on. With my rheumatoid arthritis. And also I would have pain in my wrist that would kind of come up. And then in the morning I had some mild swelling and stiffness in my hands, but it would go away within about 20 minutes of waking up. So that's pretty much all I had. So at that point I was ready to start adding in some more cooked foods and start cooking for my family and having just whole food plant-based meals. And I continued with my smoothies, even though I was introducing the cooked foods. And I've found out now, since it's been so long since I stopped that the wrist and the jaw pain was just needing continued healing, because that's gone now. And the only time that I ever really feel some of the jaw pain is when I'm not getting all of my water. So I know that it's related to my body just needing the hydration and the cushion on their joints. And so it's been over a year now since I've been off of my medication. And last October, I went to my doctor. So I had stopped my medication in May. I'd done the healing protocol all through the summer. And then I had my next rheumatology appointment in October. And it was the best visit with that doctor, because the nurse came in before he saw me and she was like, so do you need any refills on your medication? How's the medication going for you? And I said, no, I don't need any refills because I'm not taking it. And she just looked at me and she's like, really? How's that going for you? Are you in a lot of pain? And I was telling her I was in pain. I did this healing protocol and now I'm not in any pain. And so he came in and he was just asking, what's this healing protocol that you're doing? And I kind of told him briefly what it was. And I could tell he really didn't care. He was just typing in his notes. Because again, I told you he didn't really advocate that like diet had any benefit to do with the disease, with autoimmune diseases. But I just told him the protocol. You know, I'm eating lots of greens and all raw, and I was eating lots of omega-3s and water. And he was like, oh yeah, you're doing all the omega-3s that I told you to do with the fish oil. And I was like, no, because those are inflammatory. And he just looked at me, but it was just awesome. And I told him all of the omega-3s should be coming from plant sources. And I feel amazing. And the best part was before the appointment, he has you fill out this questionnaire of how your life is with all of your day-to-day activities. Ask questions like, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your difficulty in getting dressed or tying your shoes or getting in the car or showering or doing your hair, just to see, have a gauge, you know, how it's affecting your day-to-day living. And I answered 0 on every single one of those questions. And when he saw that, he was like, well, I guess I can't argue with success. So whatever it is that you're doing, just keep doing it. And the best was when I got my lab results back after that appointment, and my CRP was pretty much down to 0. It was 0.3. Okay, not even a 1. And my sedimentation rate was down to 22. And they want you to be at a 20. So it was a little bit elevated, but I knew, well, I'm still having a little bit of that, you know, pain in my wrist and my jaw, and I have a little bit of swelling, but it's going down. It's reversing, so I'm just staying the path. And here I am today, a year from starting the protocol, and I don't have any pain. Maybe once in a while I'll wake up with a little bit of stiffness, but as soon as I move my hands, it's gone. And I don't have any pain, and I don't have to modify anything. And the protocol works, but you have to do it 100%. You have to go all in and give it everything that you have to let it work. And I know that people really struggle with it because it's hard to give things up, and it's hard just with life, especially with children. But you're worth it to give it 100%. I just can't even imagine having to start that protocol over and over and over and over again because I didn't give it my all, and not know the healing capability that came from it. So if you've started the protocol and you haven't given it your 100%, do it. You owe yourself that, and you'll feel so much better. Just your whole life. You just don't realize how your health affects everything in your life. But anyway, I hope that this helps somebody out there. It's really encouraging when I get private messages and emails from people who have done the protocol, who have watched my videos and have been encouraged, or have tried my healing smoothie recipes and love it, and their family loves it. And I think in my next video, I'm going to be going through like all of the different things that I noticed that improved not only just my rheumatoid arthritis and the pain, but I have a huge list of things that I didn't even know the nutrition was going to change that, but it did. And it's just really amazing. So anyway, I hope that this helped, and I will talk to you later.